really well-known collectors here in Detroit, Dave and Linda Whitaker. They were a couple who bought a house in the eastern part of the city, a very nice neighborhood. And the story that I tell all the time, whether it's true or not, I think it is. And if it's not true, he's sitting back there and he's going to throw something. But they were furnishing their house and they went to Scotch Chuck trying to find a sofa because they were getting ready to have a party for the attorneys. And the Wolverine Bar, I think it was, and went to Scotch Chuck trying to retail store, picked up a sofa to take it out. The delivery guy's leg came off. And so Dave said to his wife, I'm not paying for that. We're going to find some other way. And I think he had some exposure to older things through his parents, I think. Is that true? No?
No, go ahead.
None of that was true?
Just make it up.
Okay. So one day they walked into my gallery. I moved from Toledo, Ohio, where I'm from. And there was a guy who used to come to Toledo. I had a big store in Toledo, 18,000 square feet. And the guy would come in with his trucks and buy antiques. He'd clean me out. He would come to my desk and turn a box of money upside down and empty it. And he said, how much of this am I leaving here with? Or how much of this am I leaving? So anyway, he beat me down to nothing, beat me down to nothing, beat me down to nothing, but he left that box of money and loaded his trucks up with furniture and that kind of stuff. So he'd come up here and sell furniture like crazy over at Grosse Pointe. And I made a mistake and went in the restaurant business, and I still own the restaurant. But that wasn't my thing, 19 hours a day, and you gotta watch everything and that kind of stuff, and I was miserable. Then there was a lady here in Detroit, I used to buy antiques from her. And she just kept telling me over and over again, come to Detroit, come, you're miserable in the restaurant business, you're getting big as a house, you're miserable, come to Detroit. You know who she is? Dale Pryor.
Oh, okay.
And that's Dale Pryor's grandson sitting right there. I see it all the time. His grandmother brought me to Detroit and changed my life. And I began to run around Grosse Pointe because they had the best treasures in the world, because they had a car business and they had all these things that were in their houses. And so I knew how to identify them. And I was shipping to Christie's, Sotheby's, Doyle's in New York. And at that time made stupid money. But how did I segue into art? So I work with the Whitaker family. They have a wonderful collection of art and antiques and rugs and a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't even put them on point, but it's absolutely incredible. And even the director of the DIA goes to their house, and he's really, and then we talk about it afterwards, and he's like, wow, there are people who have a few things here and there. They don't have a whole Metropolitan Museum or the Louvre in their house.
Yeah.
You were there? Mm-hmm. So you know I'm telling the truth.
Yes, you are. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
So they ended up getting into art. The only art I knew when I was a little kid, I lived right behind the Toledo Museum. So I'd go to the museum and see all this incredible art. And then the director of the museum, when I was a little kid, took up with me because I don't know why, but I'd go in his office and draw and that kind of stuff, and his secretaries and things. And I'd go in the back room downstairs to the Toledo Museum. Toledo Museum is one of the great, I'm not saying it because I'm from Toledo, it's one of the great museums in the world. They've got $1 billion in cash in the bank. They're very wealthy because a man named Edward Drummond Libby left his money to the Toledo Museum. So they were able to buy the best of the best of the best. You've been there?
Yeah.
Isn't it a wonderful museum? Wonderful museum. So I didn't want you to think that I was prejudiced because I'm from Toledo. Yes. The glass capital of the world. You know, when glass was important. And so, as a result of that, I began to learn a lot about art and get into the depths of art and artists and record all that stuff in my mind. And so, working with the clients that I had here, the Whitakers and other clients, they got some great art. And then I started working for another man, and he was African American. He says, "Why don't you sell African American art?" I was like, I don't know. So I got into that. And then from that, I started Breakfast Club. And the whole reason for Breakfast Club was to teach artists about the business of art. Because many people don't understand that there's a business of art. I fight with artists all the time to sign their work. They don't want to sign it, they want to initial it. I tell them right in their face, to people who are interested in buying their work, if it ain't signed, don't buy it. Don't waste your time buying it. And the reason for that is because certified appraiser. I appraise for IRS, for museums, for collectors, and those kinds of things. And anything you got that's not signed, I can't appraise it. And so oftentimes people come in from the States all the time. It happens all the time. I get phone calls all the time. And because the generation I'm from, the baby boomers, were the greatest generation ever. And so as a result of that, we got the stuff. And now these kids want to, do whatever they do with it, buy cars and all that kind of stuff. But I stay on artists all the time about how important it is to sign their work. And then even at my breakfast club that we have every Monday at 5 o'clock at Mary Grove College, all these artists and collectors come and meet. It's incredible. And that's why I met Mr. Dozier. Mr. Dozier, he used to be one of our greatest critiques. He would tell these kids how great or either how bad their work was, and to get them to improve their work. And then I would teach them about the business part of art, about signing their work, getting shows, and that's how you get value into art. Because even today they'll come up and say, "I want $3,000 for a work of art." No, you don't. Why do you want? I asked them, "Why do you want $3,000?" And the first question I always ask them is, "Who have you sold your work to?" They always tell me, "My mother, my cousin, my aunt, and a fat lady down the street." And I have to tell them, that doesn't make that worth $3,000. It's not worth $800 or $600. You got to get out of here and do your street creds. You got to earn value. You got to earn street creds. You got to sign your work. You got to know the street creds. You got to get in shows, exhibitions, because all art, piece of paper and pencil and canvas and that kind of stuff. But you add your flavor to it, and then you move it along through shows, exhibitions, and give it value. It's almost like a popularity contest, Nina. Being shy ain't gonna get it, sister. You're gonna have to really get out here and do shows and those things. You're doing really good. You're doing really
I do a lot of shows.
Yeah, you are.
It's just the talking part.
It's the what, talking part?
Yeah, it's the talking part.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing I did at Breakfast Club, I got a lot of shy artists that make them get up front and talk and enunciate and that kind of stuff. So, you've been there. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, it has really grown this Detroit economic art community tremendously.
Yeah.
Really, huh?
Really.
It's unbelievable. Yes.
How much the Breakfast Club could solve all the people that has been through the Breakfast Club?
Mm-hmm.
How much money in general has been sold in art?
None of your business.
I know that it is a lot.
Probably $6 to $8 million, and I make sure every penny goes to the artist, because you got to make them hungry and understand the business of art. And we don't charge any commission or anything. And when they sell things, I got a bell, I ring it. I shake this bell and ring it, and everybody enjoys the bell ringing. But the thing is that, and I tell them all the time, record whose collections your work goes in. It's important for you to know who your collectors are and know where your babies are, because you make these things and you put them out there, so you need to know who owns those things.
But the galleries, sometimes they don't.
The gallery will never tell you, unfortunately, and the reason galleries don't tell you, because the artists are not business people, and what they do it all the time. They'll sell something, and they'll see somebody over there buy it, and then they'll go behind the gallery back and say, you want us to come to my studio? And the galleries go through a lot of trouble keeping these lights on and waxing this floor and feeding me hors d'oeuvres back there. I'm a professional hors d'oeuvres eater. No, that's not true. But something like it's silly. I can't help myself. Just pray for me. Don't waste your time. And so that they won't tell you. There are some galleries. At my gallery, I tell you artists, because that's part of your history. It's necessary to do that. Just keep doing what you're doing. The only thing is that I said to you earlier, I talked to you earlier about this, because in my community, unfortunately, we were not acclimated to art. We were never exposed to art. We didn't know anything about art. We didn't know art existed until here recently. I think George Floyd being murdered on television shook the world up and made people to understand diversity and that kind of thing, because I'm a baby boomer. So for us, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, coming off that bridge with the water hose and John Lewis and all that kind of stuff, shook up the world then and made everything us conscientious of the world, and we were part of the world and so on and so forth. For these kids, it's George Floyd. So what you've got to do in your community, and we're such a diverse community here in America, is is expose your people, because your people make good money. Engineers, doctors, lawyers, but they don't buy art. Like my people, they buy cars, clothes, shoes, beautiful homes, but they don't buy art. So what you gotta do is, there was a lady named Gertrude Stein, and Gertrude Stein, it was his form, I think their father was into mining in California in the 1860s, 70s during the gold rush. I think he had gold. And the kids, after daddy died, they sold off everything. They moved to Paris, and they had salon exhibitions. They would do their walls full of art, and they were dealing with Monet and Renoir and all the great artists in the Paris movement. Right, Doja?
Yes.
Yes, because you were there.
Oh, I wish that was so true. And I can have,
Monets and Renoirs and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But there was a lady from America, from Philadelphia, whose name was Mary Cassatt. And Mary Cassatt, hello there, artist.
I was trying to sneak into it.
Mary Cassatt, she moved to Paris. Everybody went to Paris because that was the art center of the world. And she became involved with the artists, and she sent things back to Philadelphia. That's where the Philadelphia Museum was started, and that's where there was great art. Have you been to Philadelphia Museum? Oh, Rose Clinic. You seen that one, the big, Walmart, what's her name? The Walmart heiress. I can't think of her name, but anyway, she's one of Alice Walton. Yes, when she was putting her museum together, they bought that painting. They own that painting joint with the Philadelphia Museum. So many years is at the Philadelphia Museum. And who did that? Eastman Johnson did that painting. It's a very, you're familiar with the painting? It's an operating theater for doctors. And they all sit there.
Oh yeah, I love that work.
Yeah, they're a famous painting. And then Alice Watson also bought.
Thomas
Aiken. Thomas Aiken. You're right. Who did I say? Eastman Johnson. Yeah, I get them mixed up sometimes. I'm old. So, that's fake gray hair. Back to what you can do in your community is have art parties. You got to do it, and then you got to have people to lecture and talk. That's what we've done in our community. Good for them.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very important. It's very important to have find artists that you know, well, with you in your case yourself, and have the other couple of artists come in and have salon exhibitions in your house, and then take it to the next house. Who was that who started? Not DeVos. Oh, Mary Kay Cosmetic and the Pink Lady. What was that Pink Lady name?
Pink Cadillac.
Yeah, the Pink Cadillac. Yeah, that all started with. Have you ever heard of Mary Kay Cosmetic? That all started with parties in people's homes.
Yes.
And of course, she ended up a billionaire as well as the DeVosses in Grand Rapids.
Yes.
With that, what was that stuff they were selling? Cleaning agents and Amway. Yes. And so that's just an idea. I've been talking to you about it, and you really got to do it. Have some parties at the house, have some hors d'oeuvres and that kind of stuff, and have people come in. But have somebody come in and tell them about one thing. The reason we move so much art in this community is because we have lectures ahead of time. Like last night, I did a show. There was a group of kids, young people, who I was so proud of. They had a lecture last night. They have an art show like this, but they had a preview lecture. And as a result of it, people got up and just bought. They sold 30-40% of their show. It always happens. Because if you don't tell people what they're buying, they don't know what they're buying. People tell me all the time when they want help with their art collection, I want something to match my sofa. The artist don't know what color your sofa is. That's all in your head. The artist has no idea what color your sofa is, and your sofa is not important to them. So those people are not seriously interested in art because they don't know anything about art. I always tell people all the time, practice your art. Practice. Get ideas, go to museums, go places. I tell people all the time, it's important. I'm old, so jeans weren't in my life. I don't know what jeans are. I never wore jeans. But I'd ask the kids all the time, you know what good jeans look like? And they always say, oh yes, I know expensive jeans. I said, because you trained your eyes to know what good jeans look like. So as a result of that, they begin to get involved, and the same thing with art. Like this guy here is just phenomenal with lighting. I don't know anything about digital art, but it's the lighting is phenomenal. When you say those, so
Yes, very much so. I've had the pleasure of knowing Jeff's work
now for over 20 years. Not only as an artist, but he's also a gallerist and a museum founder. Particularly back in the days when it was very rough for art venues here. Most of them, they weren't surviving the economic crisis that hit Detroit, but Jeff was very tenacious. And
How old is he?
Jeff now is probably in his
70s.
yeah,
70s.
yeah. But he's always remained passionate about art. And he was one of the first that I knew who moved into digital art and started creating there. But he wasn't just lavishly slaving. He was creating. He said, this is a tool, and I'm going to learn how to use it. And ever since, he has been creating work in that medium. And this is one thing I tell artists, because the technology is evolving. There's emergence taking place between the traditional means of making art and the new digital means. And I know some people are afraid of the digital medium or they're hostile toward it, but what I tell them, this is another creative means by which you can make art in ways you could not do in the traditional medium. And it does not mean you cannot go back and forth, as a number of artists are doing now, but it opens up possibilities that you should explore. And the last major breakthrough in the digital medium now is you can do true sculptures in the digital medium and print that out.
Do what?
Sculptures. You can
Oh,
create
3D.
sculptures in the digital medium, and they have the machinery. You can build that up to almost to huge sizes. In fact, the technology evolved, and they are now building homes with the digital technology.